Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, and hello. Okay, it's good to be here again. Good, good afternoon, good afternoon from Lagos, Nigeria. Um, okay, I'm excited to be here again. This is the second part of this conversation. Wow, it's just a week already. Wow, I know we started this conversation last week, the same time, looking at 10 skills that teachers will need to thrive in the year 2025, right? And this is the second part of the conversation, and it's so good to be here again. Okay, so we are live on LinkedIn and we're also live on YouTube. Yeah, so wherever you're joining from, please tell us your name and tell us where you're joining from. We'd like to meet with you. Tell us your name and tell us, okay, let's see what we have on LinkedIn. Tell us your name and tell us where you're joining from. My name is Adebayo Alomaja, the head of research and chief learning designer at EAZY-DIGI. Um, we are an education consulting organization. Yeah. And so, you know, we are transforming education in Africa with design thinking, agile thinking, and future thinking. And everything we do, all of our work with schools, with teachers, just revolves around that framework. All right. Okay. But, and that's why, you have a topic like this 10 skills that teachers will need in 2025. I mean, we are picking some signals, from what has happened this year, from things that are happening currently, and then we are looking at what that can mean for us next year. The context here is Africa and especially Nigeria, right? That's the context. So that, yeah. Well, of course, the skills applies to any teacher from anywhere. But sorry, we'll be speaking more to Africa, to Nigeria as the context. Um, yeah. But of course, I mean, these skills have universal application. Like I always say. So yeah, please, wherever you're joining from, tell us your name and tell us where you're joining from. We'd like to meet with you. How are you doing? I mean, for teachers in Nigeria, it's the end of the term. I mean, it's that time again to begin to relax, to start relaxing a bit. I know some schools have started exams. Some are currently having the exams. So how has it been? How is it going? I hope it's not too stressful. Yeah, please, you know, let's hear from you in the chat room. Let's connect with you. How's it going? How's the whole end of term engagement stress and all of that? Right. Okay. So I mean, and of course, for those that we not connect right now, but we get to listen to the conversation afterwards, right? We want to say thank you for your time. For our asynchronous audience, right? Yeah. So, but for the synchronous audience, let's meet with you. And of course, if you listen to this later, tell us your name. Let's know where you're joining from. It's very important. Okay, so I've got a number of things to talk about here today. I mean, last week we talked about three of the skills. We talked about what's it called? We talked about collaboration, right? Reflecting in partnerships, right? We talked about you know motivation, personal motivation, and self-awareness, right? And then we also talked about curiosity and lifelong learning, right? As the skills that you will need to thrive in 2025, right? And of course, just to touch a bit, talking about collaboration, um, you want to collaborate with EAZY-DIGI, right? I mean, we're here to support you as you journey through 2025, right? We're here to support you with insight, with strategies, with frameworks, with knowledge, right? Because it's very important, right? So you can, I mean, the video I sent during the week on LinkedIn was talking about, how you should partnership with successful entrepreneurs and founders in Nigeria. And I try to explain why that is important, and all of that, right? So collaboration in various dimensions, right, is part of what you will need to thrive in 2025, right? Consider partnering with EasyDG. I mean, stay connected to us. We have a lot of stuff lined up for next year. That will be so helpful, right? We keep furnishing the African education community with research, right? With industrial research, society-based research. You'll hear a lot of things from us in that direction that will keep you up to date. You need that kind of partnership, right? And don't also forget, partnershiping with successful entrepreneurs, founders in Nigeria. It's important, right? It's so important. Like I said, you know, the current generation of entrepreneurs we have in Nigeria, they are performing at a level, right? And the coming generation of entrepreneurs needs to understand what that place looks like. They need mentorship, they need guidance, right? So we need to think creatively about how we can connect the topics in our various subjects to these issues, right? To these issues so that it looks good, so that we are raising a generation of young people that are coming to take the impact, right, to the next level, right, to the next level. There's something I'll be sharing with you later. You know, we've been doing some research, right, that's looking at the various sectors in Nigeria that are contributing to the sectors that are contributing the most to GDP growth in Nigeria, right? So while we're doing that research, we discovered that there are certain sectors, right, that are contributing the most to GDP in Nigeria, and the growth for these sectors in the past few years has been quite difficult. And the question is, these sectors, knowing that they are contributing the most to growth, economic growth in Nigeria, right? The coming generation, what do they need to know? What are the factors that are responsible for the growth that these sectors have encountered up to date? What can the education community do? What the coming generation, what are the things they need to know, right? About these sectors, and what can they begin to do differently? Because one thing, especially for kids from year seven upwards, right? One thing you want to have them do is a lot of investigation. This is very important. They need to do a lot of investigation. They need to investigate into current realities, right? They need to analyze what it looks like, right? They need to analyze what it looks like. They need to evaluate it and see it, right? And then put them to that point where you're asking them to create something better, right? Aha, right. You see, education in Nigeria has to be creative, has to be create. We need a generation of people that know how to create. It's very important. Is very important for us here, right? I mean, a number of reports. There's a report that speaks to the fact that annually about 11 million youths in Africa enter the marketplace, right? And just only 3.7 million jobs are created. 11 million youths are entering. That numbers are going to be more, and just 3.7 million jobs are available. Look at the margin, right? So our education has to be more creative, more creation oriented. We need that kind of education, right? So you see where we are. You see where we are, right? So we cannot separate our education from our reality, right? And that's why teachers, we are bringing this to you. You need to Collaboration is very important. Collaboration is very important. Collaboration is very important. Yeah, Okay. There was something I was going to talk about. I saw today. It's all over. I think it's one of the latest news that's on the internet, right? Australia banned social media for under 16, right? So Australia has said any child under 16 should not be on TikTok, should not be on Instagram, should not be on Facebook. And please, if you let's meet you, in the chat room, in the comment section. Tell us your name, tell us where you're joining from. It will be nice to connect with you. So yeah, so Australia banned social media for under 16. I mean, it's all over the news. and there are different kind of views on this issue. You know, oh, should they have not? I mean, they have their reasons, which is tied to mental health issues, crisis, and a number of things like that, which are very valid, right? They are very valid, right? But nature abhors vacuum, right? So there are so many sides to it, right? There are so many sides to it. Yeah, so I want to know what you think about that. What do you think about it? All right. Do you think Australia has done the right thing? Right. For us in Nigeria, in Africa, should we also be considering something like that? In fact, I saw a report. Where's that thing? I saw a report. Where's that? Talking about the list of countries that spends the most time on social media. Hmm? I saw a report today. Let me look for that report. Nigeria is number 5. Kenya is number 1. South Africa is number 2. That spends the most time on social media. So what should we do? That's saying something. That speaks a lot, right? That speaks a lot. You know, we can bring up various arguments from that data, right? Various arguments. I'm trying to get that data now. Uh, I hope I find it. Where's Yeah, but Nigeria number 5, so Kenya number 1, and South Africa number 2. So what do we do about that? What do we do about that? What do we do about that? Right. I just want to catch your thoughts. What do you think about this whole issue? What do you think about that? What do you think about this issue? Um, you know, it's something that we need to talk about, right? Because and that's why I cited that data I also saw as well. Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria number 5. So that tells you that a lot of our kids are on social media, right? What should we do about that? Should we worry about it, or should you just leave it as it is, right? Okay, but for me, like I said, nature abhors vacuum. What I think about this issue, right, is the fact that like I said on LinkedIn, when kids don't find meaning in what they are doing, they distract themselves. So the question is, why are they addicted to these platforms, right? What's in this platform, right, that locks them in, that just gets them addicted to these platforms, right? Is just something that that school can learn from this experience. That's what me have been saying, right? Because when I look at these platforms, right, as humans, we are social beings. So the highest form of engagement, you will see it when you create an avenue for sociality, when you create an avenue for us to meet our society, whether it is through internet or through a physical medium, right? But the point is that you will find the highest form of engagement, whether you call it an addiction now, right? Um, Anytime you bring people in touch with community, right? You find the highest form of engagement, right? Anytime, yeah. So I mean, you find the highest form of engagement when you bring society into the context, because that's what the social media does. The social media basically just connects us with our society, with different aspects of society, right? So whatever avenue provides that for young people, they will latch on it, because essentially that's what they need. As adults, we need it too as well. That's why you find a lot of adults too on those platforms, right? It's part of our core. We crave for it. We crave for connection. We crave for connection. So the question is, um, you know, So if you take social media away from them, then what is going to really fill that gap, right? That's the question. And from the aspect of school, school needs to think about that. Can we begin to do school differently in a way whereby we bring the society into the classroom, right? Can we have that kind of connection, right? Can teachers teach from that perspective? Right? Because when they are teaching math, teaching all those things, and they are teaching it in isolation, without using society as the context, issues from the society as the context, right? It's not engaging for the kids. They don't find meaning in it because they live in a world on a daily basis, and what you are talking to them in the class doesn't connect or relate to that world. So that's a problem, right? That's why I think actually, right? That's why I think. So three skills we talked about last week: collaboration, motivation, and self-awareness. And then we talked about curiosity and lifelong learning, right? And then we'll just briefly try to attempt to look at three skills today, if possible, right? And then the first on the list for the skills is what's it called? Analytical thinking, right? Analytical thinking. The skills we'll be talking about today has to do with problem solving, right? Yeah, so 2025, right? One of the things that we know is the fact that 2025 is going to be a year, right? You know, that is going to be filled with disruptions, right? We're going to have quite a number of disruptions here and there. I talked about the use of socio-economics, geopolitics, and globalization. These three forces, right, are going to be responsible for the major disruptions we'll see in school environment. So for you as an education professional and for the job that you do, you want to you want to be sensitive, right, to these issues and how they are playing out because these things are affecting individuals and they are affecting families, right? So I can tell you that by the time you vacate, you go on holiday, you see the kids that are leaving your school, your classroom this year, they are not the kids that are resuming next year, right? Because many things are going to change across families. Many things are going to change, right? The kids may not be coming back as excited, as they used to be, right? There could be many things here and there and all of that, right? So um, you have to be ready for problems, right? You have to be that kind of person that is willing, that is okay, right? That doesn't see problem as something strange, right? And that's why the skills that we're going to be talking about right here are going to be closely tied to problem solving, closely tied to problem solving, right? And the first on the list is analytical thinking, right? Is analytical thinking, right? And what does that mean? That basically speaks to, you know, being able to, um, to break down problems, right, into smaller chunks, right, and then begin to look at it closely, right? The whole idea of analytical thinking is that when you see a problem, right, you have the strength, you are patient enough to say no problem, and you're trying to see, you are breaking it into parts, right, and say, okay, what is this all about? What are the factors that could be responsible for this issue, right? And from a place of priority, how do you begin to attempt to solve this issue one by one, right? Or is it possible that there's just one that when you address, others are going to be taken care of, right? So that capacity to patiently observe and not be overwhelmed, even without just by the sight of the problem alone, you are like, no, this is going to be, you know, are you able to just calm down and then look at the whole thing, and then already you're analyzing what are the factors that can be responsible for this issue, right? And you're able to capture the factors, and in order of priority, you are picking them one by one and trying to solve the problem. Okay, hmm, this can be, and you are doing that with the mindset, with an understanding that the problem can actually be solved. You are not reacting. You are not. So, and every time you do this, you are modeling something to your learners. So all of these skills we are talking about right here, they are skills that your learner should have as well, right? And the only way they can have it is if you first have it. You need to have it to really create an atmosphere of it. So for you to create an atmosphere of these skills, you need to have them. It has to become your lifestyle on a daily basis. That your learners look at you, that whenever there's an issue, they discover that your approach is different, right? Whenever there's an issue, they see you that you start asking some very important questions. Hmm. And before you know it, whenever there's an issue truly, right, they will begin to emulate the same. Right. So there's this saying here that without data, you are just another person with an opinion. You are just another person with an opinion. So analytical thinking involves that while you are doing that analysis, right, you are also leveraging on what is available. Right. You're leveraging on data to make decisions. So while you're analyzing the problem, whatever decision you are making is from a place of data. What you have found out. Oh, I discovered that. Oh, this is the reason for this. This is the reason for this. Right. So your decisions are logical. Right. They are logical. Right. They are not out of emotions. You're only making decisions based on data, not based on your emotions. So an analytical thinker seeks to understand what is the reality. How does it really looks like? Right, from a place of logic. Okay, so these are the factors that are responsible for this. Out of all these factors, this one is the top. This is topmost, and is based on data. It's not ESA. It's not you know very important. Without data, you are just another person with an opinion. Right, just another person with an opinion. There's a scenario here. It says Mr. Mohammed analyzes patterns in student performance, identifying that morning classes have better engagement. So look at Mr. Mohammed in this scenario, right? He just analyzed the pattern in a student performance and discovered that anytime he teaches them in the morning, hmm, the performance is higher than other times of the day, right? And so what does he do? Right? He adapts his teaching schedule and style accordingly. So an analytical thinker operates that way, right? Operates that way, right? We talk about pattern recognition, we talk about critical thinking, and also evidence-based solution. So whatever decision you are making is based on data, based on evidence, not emotions, because you are going to be in that place where you might be tempted. There might be, whenever there are things like that, right? You have to come and say no, 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 no. What exactly is going on, right? Every decision must be from a place of data, from a place of evidence, right? Because you are going to be in a space, an environment where you need to make decisions, right? Where you need to solve problems, right? In your classroom, right? There will be issues. Within the school environment, there will be issues. You can just have that parent that will just come, right? You know, even parents now, their state of mind and things like that, right? I mean, we are speaking to the Nigerian landscape right now, and some of the issues that we might experience next year. They're very important, right? So make sure you do your due diligence. Every decision must be based on data, based on evidence. Be careful to recognize patterns, right? Be careful to recognize patterns, right? This is going to place a demand on you that you have to be that kind of person that is very mindful, right? You have to be very, very mindful. You have to always seize the moment. You have to always seize every moment, right? You need to be always very observant, right? Always very observant. I put down some things here. Um, for teachers, I like what quizzes does. I mean, if you give your students an assignment with quizzes, now this is case one. So if you're in a school where your kids have access to technology, you can easily do that kind of thing. That's okay, right? So that's case one. And so what happens is, when quizzes is showing you the analytics, it will tell you the question that students spend most of their time on, right? So it's going to show you this was the toughest questions for the student. This was the easiest question for the student, right? It gives you that kind of analytics so that you can have an idea of how they are responding to the assessments you are giving to them and stuff like that, right? So, I mean, paying attention to that level so that you can know what to deal with from time to time, right? And of course, if you don't have, if you're not in that kind of environment, if you don't have that kind of infrastructure, right? I mean, as a teacher, you could even have like a Google Sheet, right? You can have like a Google Sheet or Excel sheet where you have the topics you are taking. You have the topics like on the vertical axis, and then you have the names of your students on the horizontal axis. or vice versa, right? But the goal is that the marks, the assessment score for the students, across those topics, as it's going, you are documenting it, right? You're documenting it, right? And then from time to time, you can sit back and just look at the numbers and see how they are flowing, right? So from there, you can see that particular student that has not been progressively doing well, or you can see that student that the mark, this is against what happens traditionally, because once you mark their books, that's all, right? Most of the time, I think in schools, what they document mostly is just the CA, right? Maybe they do one CA 1, CA 2, and then the exam score, stuff like that, right? The things that will enter the report card, right? But beyond that, if you don't have that kind of digital infrastructure, right, you can have like a Google sheet, right, for that particular class, right? And this is something very, very easy. And but this is going to differentiate you. This is you upgrading yourself. This is you applying data analytics in your teaching. This is you functioning at a higher level, right? If you have and if this has not been done before in your school, right, you are leading, you are setting the pace. Hmm? You are setting the pace, and then you have that kind of sheet that shows their scores, right, horizontal, vertical, right, and then by midterm you can sit back, right. You can also leverage AI in doing the analysis. If you okay, you may not want to if you want to use AI for that kind of analysis, then you have to like remove their names. Maybe you just put student A, student B, student C, student D, right, and then it's solved, because for the sake of data privacy, you don't want to put their names there, right? So you can do stuff like that, right? And AI is going to ChatGPT or Claude can analyze and say, oh, so far in the last 7 weeks, there's been this and this and this and this and this. You're going to get a lot of insight from the analysis, right? While you're looking at it as well, right? So the creative way we are leveraging, but the point is that you have to pay attention to patterns, right? Make decisions based on data, right? Whenever there are issues, you are not easily, swayed. You don't decide based on your emotion, you decide based on data. You are careful enough to ask every question that should be asked, right? And as you're doing this, again, your learners are observing and they are seeing what's going on, right? And because they are doing that, you are modeling that to them and they will also follow suit. So growing in that direction. Yeah. So yeah, number 4 on the list is analytical thinking. You have to be an analytical thinker, right? You have to don't be in a hurry. You have to, because analytical thinking takes time. Let's touch that. It takes time. It takes time. You know, that's like my lifestyle. It takes time, right? You can't rush it. It takes time. So this is going to change your lifestyle. But the outcome of it, if you subject yourself to this practice as a lifestyle, the outcome of it is that your decisions are going to be more productive, right? You will discover that you begin to make decisions that are more progressive and more productive, even for you personally. Telling you, I'm telling you, right? That's a very important skill that you need to have, right? The coming generation needs to have this skill too, but they can't learn it if they don't see someone model it for them. You have to model it in your classroom, being an analytical thinker, right? So we're saying that as you enter 2025, be comfortable, love problems. You say, we love problems, right? Because every problem you solve makes you smarter, and every problem you ignore makes you less smarter, right? So be that person that says, come on, let's have it, let's look at it, right? Every problem has a solution. It can be solved. We're going to solve it. In our territory here, we're going to solve it. It's going to be solved. We'll leverage every data possible, every intelligence, everything, including technology, right? I mean, if you need to prompt AI on some information, we can solve the damn problem. We can. So that's the spirit, right? So you need to enter 2025 with this skill, analytical thinking, right? Again, it's about data. One of the things you can do, if you haven't before, you can learn basic data analysis. You can take a course on just basic data analysis, right? You can start tracking your teaching outcomes. Start by doing that, right? It's only what you can measure that you can improve. Start by tracking it. Track it. Your teaching outcomes. Track it. Track your teaching outcomes. right? Then also study the pattern of your students, right? Study them, very observant, right? Like I said, this is going to change your lifestyle, right? You're gonna have to be very observant, right? Very observant. Okay. And as you do from time to time, you want to keep sharing your insight. You share your insight with your colleagues and all of that, right? So you are not only bringing change into your classroom, but your school community at large. By the time you're sharing these things with your colleagues, and they're like, "Oh, that's true. Oh, right," and everyone is seeing how this works, right? So that's the whole idea. That's the idea. The idea is to bring that change, to bring that transformation across your school, but you are leading the change, right? So that's it. That's it. Analytical thinking. That's it. Okay. And then the next skill I want to talk about right here, uh, is creative thinking. Creative thinking. As a matter of fact, these two skills, analytical thinking and creative thinking, all right. Last year, the World Economic Forum released a report. They call it the Future of Jobs report, right? And in that report, what they said, so there's a section, is a segment of the report that speaks to the top skills, the top 10 skills that professionals need to have to succeed in today's workplace and the emerging workplace. Top 10, right? And on this list, these two skills are top on the list: analytical thinking and creative thinking. And these two skills are hinged on problem solving, right? They are hinged on problem solving. Analytical thinking speaks more to data patterns and stuff like that, while creative thinking speaks more to creativity, right? Being able to leverage what is available to come up with new ideas, right? To solve the problems on ground. Being able to leverage, to look at everything and say, okay, I see the connection, right? We can use A, B, C to get to D, right? That kind of thinking, right? Again, one thing you say about these two skills is the fact that it's that ability to be comfortable, to be willing to face problems, right? So you're not running away from problems, right? So you are the problem solver, right? It's just very this is so invaluable. It's so invaluable, right? It's going to differentiate you as an educator in 2025. You are really going to become the sought after if you decide to embrace this as a lifestyle. If you decide to open up yourself to this kind of lifestyle where you are intentionally nurturing these skills on a daily basis, right? You are really going to become a sought after person. And don't forget that your greatest asset as a teacher is your story and your journey. Your story and your journey. Your stories and your journey is a function of your daily experiences, right? Because your student needs someone that has succeeded in doing other things other than standing before them in a classroom. The goal is not to raise all of them as teachers. The goal is to raise them to become individuals that are empowered, that can thrive. So if you have been empowered to be an individual that can thrive, right, that's more important than even being a teacher. Okay, so so that capacity, that boldness, that confidence, right, to look at the problem and then say, oh well, we are going to solve this problem. And then the next thing is you're looking out for how to generate a new idea, how to come up with a different approach, right, to solving that problem, right? And I believe the reason why the World Economic Forum, asked those two skills top on the list is because we are now living in a world that is getting more complex by the day, right? That is getting more problems. We have more challenges to deal with as a people, even across the global village, right? It's getting more VUCA, it's getting more complex, it's getting more volatile, more uncertain, right? So we're gonna have more challenges to deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? So we need a new generation. We have to become a new generation of people. We need that mind shift, right? We have to become more comfortable with problems and challenges. Right? We have to see them indeed as stepping stones. We have to become very. It's not natural. It's not. Nobody likes problems, right? Nobody likes it. And the thing with this skill is that it's like a muscle, right? The more you keep exposing yourself to problems, the more you are building it, the more you are building it, the more you are building, the more you are... For example, when I was going to build by GPT, all right, uh, you want to ask, I mean, what did it take to build BioGPT? Right? If you have used BioGPT before, you know what that thing can do for you as a teacher. So I mean, what did it take? I mean, I was going to stretch myself. I was going to stretch myself mentally. I know my capacity, right? So before I ventured into building BioGPT, right? Technically, I didn't have the capacity to deliver that. Then it means I needed to adjust my learning curve. I needed to learn, right? So I started watching the YouTube videos. I started watching and watching and watching and doing and experimenting. I mean, get comfortable with experiments. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, right? Like I'm comfortable with doing that. Trying many things. We're going to try and try and try. This is one thing you find in other sectors I don't find in education, right? We don't give room for those things. Experiment. How many experiments? Before you can even say something is not going to work, how many experiments have you tried? How many experiments? How many ways? How many ways? How many ways? Have you tried the 100 times? Right? So that's the way it is. That's the way it is. I was just thinking, and of course, there were a lot of back and forth. I would do, good. I publish it, tested it. It didn't look well. I adjusted, tested, just doing various experiments till it got to the level that it is right now. Was delivering. I mean, a lot of teachers have tried it across Nigeria, across somebody tested this week from the United States, and she was like, "Wow, I'm curious. Tell me, how did you build it? How did you build it?" And then we just got talking and stuff like that. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. So if you choose to build your creative thinking capacity, and then you are that person that is willing to look at every problem and say, okay, that's fine. This problem is here, right? How can we create a unique way forward out of this problem, right? That's going to require a lot of brainstorming, right? Because ideation is going to set in. Again, it takes time. Whether it's analytical thinking or it's creative thinking, they take time. They both take time. They're going to take your time. So do you have that patience? Or you're that kind of person that say, well, me, I don't have time. No, you are not growing. You are not growing. You won't be able to build great things if you're that kind of person. Me, I don't have time. No, no. Your learners need somebody more than that. You don't want to be that kind of person to your learners. No, that's not a good example, right? So you want to patiently look at the problem, right? You're going to do the analysis that is required, and you are looking at what is available, right? What can be the unique way? So you are willing to let go of how you've always done it, right? So just say, let me just open my mind to something new, right? You are willing to open your mind to something new, something different, right? Yeah, you're willing to open your mind to something different. That's very important. um we're going to end today on creative thinking, right? We're going to end today on creative thinking. Give me one sec. Give me one sec. Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, what is involved? Ideation, right? Then resource adaptation, being able to always, work with what you have, right? And utilize it in a different way to forge your way ahead, right? Um, Innovative teaching methods. What is involved? Innovative teaching methods, right? And then creative problem solving, right? Again, it's the idea that every problem we face in this environment has a solution, right? So, in finding that solution, there's a place for experience, insight. There's a place for insight, right? There's a place for ideas from technology. You're using AI or something to find out some ideas, because the thing with the internet is there's really nothing new, right? So that challenge you are facing has happened somewhere. right? And there is how they have solved it. That's what these AI tools are all about, right? So you ask it a question, and then it just searches from his knowledge base and from his neural network and finds something that connects to that, and it gives it to you. So that's a sure leverage, right? And then by the time you are combining that with experience, insight, and insight, you are able to come out with something new that can move things forward. But again, it takes time, right? It's something, an exercise that takes time, and you have to just be open to it. You have to be willing to just get on it, right? Yeah. So again, the key component is this ideation, right? So you are going to, you either on a personal level with a group of people, and with technology, right? So that process of generating ideas, so you have to become that kind of person, right? That is comfortable with just sitting right there, and then you're thinking, right, right, ideas, right? Sometimes maybe you want to just reach out to me, yeah, and say you're thinking about something, and you're looking out for some ideas. Yeah, that's what we're saying, right? I'm going to charge you, right? But of course, but not all the time, please, right? So you are free to reach out, and then we can brainstorm and generate ideas together. So leverage on technology as well, right? The whole idea is that we're able to find a unique way forward out of this issue, out of the situation, all right? Okay, so yeah, that's um that's a bit of that. You are willing to let go of how you've always done it, and you are saying, I'm going to open my mind. There has to be a new way to do this, right? There has to be a new way to do what you're doing right there in that school. Are you willing? Will you open your mind to something new? Are you ready to try something new? Are you ready? Are you ready? Like I said, when I was going to build BioGPT, I mean, it stretched me. Like, it mentally stretched me, right? It mentally stretched me, right? But I'm glad I gave myself to it, because I'm smarter. Like I always say, every problem you solve makes you smarter. I'm smarter. So when the person from the US was saying, "Oh, wow, wow, wow," the wow was a product of staying put and going through a lot of experimenting, to bring forth that kind of thing, right? So that's what we're saying. You have to be that kind of person, right? You have to be that kind of person, always opening your mind to various perspectives, right? You are always willing to listen to people's perspective, and just you're on Instagram, you're checking what's happening here and there. You're trying to see how people are doing things differently, right? Because it's contagious, right? It's contagious. The more you listen to people that are creative, the more you are also becoming creative, right? It's just like begets like. It's the resonance effect. It's the resonance effect, and that's how powerful it is. Okay, so we are going to stop here on this note. So we've been doing this on Instagram and LinkedIn like every Friday, right? Yeah. So just after we round off right about now, we're jumping on Instagram to have the Instagram version as well. I mean, Instagram is usually more interactive. The Instagram version is usually more interactive. I enjoy it more than the LinkedIn, but that's fine actually. If you can join us on Instagram by 6 p.m., that's in the next 15 minutes or thereabout. Please do join us. It's going to be more interactive there. But I've just put this here for the LinkedIn audience, for my LinkedIn audience. For those that will get to, because I know, yeah, a number of people are going to listen to this afterwards. Please, as you do, please, let's have your comments. Feel free to also ask your question, and please, in the comment section, I put a link there. I put a self-assessment link, right? If you want to see how ready you are for 2025, based on these skills that I've talked about, jump on that assessment, right? Once you are done, it will show you the result immediately and show you some things that you need to do, right? Please take note of those things. It's very important, right? It's going to help you, right? So this is BioGPT, right? From EAZY-DIGI, we are rooting for you. You are going to thrive in 2025. You are going to win, right? You are going to thrive. You are going to win. We are rooting for you, and that's the essence of this series that we've been having, talking about the skills you need to have to thrive, to win in 2025. So please stay connected. We're going to be doing this again by next week. Talking about more skills that you need to have, to thrive. So there's like 5 more to go, right? So please collaboration, reflecting in partnerships, curiosity and lifelong learning, personal motivation and self-awareness, analytical thinking, creative thinking, right? Please note them down. Begin to check yourself and intentionally build yourself on those skills, right? Make it a daily lifestyle, right? And I see you succeeding in the year 2025, right? So I'm going to see you again by next week. Thanks for your time. To everyone that has joined, whether on YouTube or on LinkedIn, thank you so much for your time. And to everyone that will join, thank you as well. Thank you so much. Right? Till I come your way again. Bye for now. Chibidi-doo-doo-doo.